It's the Breeders' Cup in Keeneland, Kentucky this weekend, Friday the 4th of November and Saturday the 5th. Keeneland is certainly the capital of American horse racing, steeped in history, and takes its turn on the Breeders' Cup as the Breeders' Cup host this year. Of no surprise to regular viewers, I'll offer very little insight into the American dirt form, but there's all sorts of European interest over the 2 days. They're almost certain to bring some of the turf prizes back over the Atlantic with them, more than one, more likely. The turf track at Keeneland is only 7.5 furlongs all the way round. So imagine Chester just with American surroundings. That's what we're dealing with here. The draw is all important. Plus, it's on ITV both days. ITV3 on the Friday and I think ITV2 on the Saturday as well. So plenty of coverage over in England of the European contenders and others at Keeneland over the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup. We'll go straight into Friday. Friday is all about the juveniles. First up is the juvenile sprint over a turning 5.5 furlongs. It's at 7 o'clock. And with Keeneland being over on the east coast of America, the timings are perfect for UK viewers. Years gone by, we've had the Breeders' Cup Classic going off at like midnight, and people like me falling asleep. But none of that this weekend. All takes place at lovely evening hours for UK eyes. Back to the juvenile turf on the Friday. The UK trained 5 of the 12 entries. 3 of the top 4 in the market of UK trained. The Platinum Queen is 7-2, second favourite, following her famous Group 1 win in the Abbey at Longchamp on Arc Weekend. A 2-year-old win in the Abbey. It has been done before, not very often, and what a season she has had, really, the Platinum Queen. Brilliant for syndicate connections. Broke the clock at Glorious Goodwood, second in the Numthorpe, then won the Abbey against older horses last time. The margin that day was only quite small for the Platinum Queen. I think it was a neck or a short neck even on the day, but she was clear and on her own for a long time on what was bad ground. The Platinum Queen is drawn in 12 of 12 over 5.5 furlongs round a bend at Keeneland. That is certainly not helpful. The speed right next to her as well from the home team in stall 11 and stall 10. She's going to have to be extremely quick away to get in a good position early doors. I think that's unlikely. I can see a price drifting. She's 7-2. I can see that being a bigger price by the time 7 o'clock comes round on Friday. Love Reigns is tops the market. Very close price, very similar price to the Platinum Queen for Wesley Ward, and we all know about his 2-year-olds. This is a horse that has a similar profile to last year's winner for Wesley Ward, which was called Twilight Gleaming. Won this race last year. Love Reigns, similar to Twilight Gleaming, ran at Royal Ascot in June, well fancied, but beaten. Ran a decent enough race, the pair of them, but we're talking about Love Reigns primarily here. Then Love Reigns has gone on to win a prep race before coming to this race. Twilight Gleaming did exactly the same last year, pretty much. Love Reigns obviously has an obvious chance. Mischief Magic is in there at 9-1 for Charlie Appleby and William Buick. Drops down to from the 6 furlongs when we last saw him at Middle Park in the Middle Park Stakes. I thought he was disappointing that day, in truth. But Charlie Appleby has a genuinely amazing record in the Breeders' Cup, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Mischief Magic go close. I'd like to see him run well. I did like him before the Middle Park, but he disappointed that day. He was really quite visually impressive on his penultimate start in a Group 3 at Kempton, where he looked really quite good and quite exciting. Like I say, he did disappoint me in the Middle Park and others. I think he only finished 4th that day behind Blackbeard, who's now been retired, believe it or not. Mischief Magic will need to step up, but again, in Buick and Appleby we trust. 17-2 each way, 4 places. I am backing him. I was disappointed last time, but he is going up as an official selection. Like I say, I just thought he was really quite taken at Kempton, and I'm happy to give him another chance. Charlie just does not send horses over to America that haven't got a chance of going well. Hopefully Mischief Magic fits that bill. At 8:20 on Friday is the Juvenile Fillies Turf over a mile, where I'd be happy to take on the 3-1 favourite Meditate for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. I put up the horse last time on the channel, where she got beat second in the Cheveley Park Stakes. Just the reasons why I'm taking her on at 3-1 this weekend. I think a mile, even a 2-bend mile, isn't ideal for her. Remember, it was 6 furlongs last time when seen at Newmarket. The problem is, what do you take her on with, this Meditate? There's only 2 other European runners in the 14-strong field, so I've not got a handle on the majority of the field and their form. Richard Fahey's Midnight Mile won a Group 3 at Newmarket on just her second start. You've got to take that as being impressive. You know, he doesn't chuck them in at the deep end very often, Richard Fahey. Rattling home at the end in that race. That was a Group 3 oh-so sharp stakes at Newmarket. There's surely more to come from her. I think that the fact that she's even coming here at all is a sign in itself from Richard Fahey. You must fancy her. She's obviously going to be back next year, so there was no need to rush her to a Breeders' Cup this year. They must fancy her chances. It's a big step up in grade and overall experience. I'm not talking about experience in the form book. I'm talking about experience on the day. It's going to be a massive crowd, completely different surroundings and atmosphere than what she experienced at Newmarket on a wet Friday earlier in October. It's just a third start for this Midnight Mile. She's 10-1. She could well run well, and I expect her to do so, to be fair. The other UK runner is 66-1 outside at Manhattan Jungle for Amy Murphy, her first runner at the Breeders' Cup, so fair play to her. This Manhattan Jungle's yet to run anyway near the form to threaten. If honest, that's why she's priced at 66-1. It's no bet for me in the juvenile fillies turf, but I wouldn't be a backer of Meditate, that is for sure. At the final turf race on the Friday is over a mile, but for the Colts, 9:40 p.m. UK time. The market's dominated by Appleby and O'Brien. Currently, Charlie Appleby has won this race twice before, including last year with Modern Games, a horse we're going to come on to later. Charlie relies on Silver Knot in this race. He's 11-8. I was against Silver Knot in the Group 3 Autumn Stakes at Newmarket last time, but he proved me wrong, fair and square. He beat Epictetus by a neck that day. Epictetus has then been on to finish second in the Group 1 Racing Post Trophy at Doncaster on his next start. The form looks decent. Aidan O'Brien relies on one called Victoria Road. May have gone under the radar a little bit for UK fans because his last two starts have been in France in listed and Group 3 races, very much under the radar for someone like me. The latter of those, the Group 3, being a narrow margin winner over a horse called Blue Rose Sen. Blue Rose Sen went on to win a Group 1 on Arc Day for yours truly at 8-1. So that's good form as well. So there's form claims for both Victoria Road and Silver Knot. I do think Silver Knot has got the edge in the form book, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Victoria Road going a bit closer here. Neither of them really blow me away. Victoria Road definitely doesn't. Silver Knot doesn't, but he's proved me wrong before, so I've already been proved wrong on that one. I haven't got a clue about the chances of 12 of the 14 runners in this race, so I can't advise a bet on it, but I am interested in the top of the market with the two UK and Irish runners there, and it'll be an interesting one to watch, possibly with a view to Classics next year. On to the Saturday, where there are 4 turf Group 1, Grade 1 races, as they're called in America, with European interest in all of them. First up is the turf sprint, again over 5.5 furlongs, similar to the juvenile race. Starts pretty early Saturday afternoon, 4:29, so the football won't even be finished on Saturday, and the Grade 1 action at Keeneland will be underway. So don't miss it. 4:29, quirky off time there, but don't miss it. Highfield Princess bids to win her 4th top-level race on the spin. It would be at a 3rd different distance in a 4th different country, if she can do it. Remarkable. She's been absolutely brilliant this season. I hope she does win it, Highfield Princess. She's been an absolute superstar for John Quinn and Jason Hart. They're not often at the top table in Group or Grade 1 races, and it's revolutionised Jason Hart's career, to be honest, this Highfield Princess. Brilliantly campaigned. Good luck to her and connections. But Highfield Princess isn't even the favourite as we speak. That is Wesley Ward's Golden Pow, another that we'll be familiar with over in the UK. The reigning champ of this Breeders' Cup race from Del Mar last year. You probably will already know, but the Breeders' Cup is at a different racecourse every year in America. They move it round on a bit of a circus. Del Mar last year, Keeneland this year. And Golden Power warmed up for this in striking fashion over course and distance just 4 weeks ago. Looked really good. He'd had a rest before that. He's 2-1 to go back to back. There's other UK and Irish runners in there as well that you'll be familiar with. Creative Force, Group 1 winner in his own right. Emiratiana, second in the Betfair Sprint Cup when last seen at Haydock. Go Bears Go, who went close in a couple of Group 1s last year, hasn't quite done it this year. Naval Crown won the Platinum Jubilee Stakes at Royal Ascot in June. And Flotus, who's been running big races against the odds in a lot of times, to be fair. The prices of those, Creative Force, Emiratiana, Go Bears Go, Naval Crown, Flotus, get bigger as my list goes on. Flotus being the biggest of those. I've been a real admirer of this horse. for some time. I've never backed Flotus, I don't think. Often front runs over on these shores, and has ran some absolute blinders in defeat. This Flotus, she really has. Um, particularly when the market didn't expect much of her, and she's been second, a couple of fourths in big races. I mean, last year she nearly won the Group 1 Cheveley Park Stakes, only denied very, very late on in that day by the Aidan O'Brien runner that's name has slipped my brain at the moment. But yeah, she nearly won the Cheveley Park Stakes. She was 25 to 1 for that. 40 to 1 third in the Commonwealth Cup this year. Ran a mighty race. 18 to 1 third in the Flying 5 at the Curragh, another Group 1 this year. I'd love to see her go well again at a big price. She does tend to lead when she's over in the UK and Ireland when she's racing floaters. Will she get the opportunity to do that, or will she even want to do that against some American horses in this race? I'm not sure. But at 40 to 1, I'd love to see her go well. Is she a selection? No, but just want to keep an eye on. The selection is Highfield Princess. I think she's been absolutely awesome this season and should be clear favourite over Golden Pal for this race, in my opinion. I think that this is the race of all the turf races I'm going to cover. This is the one that's going to be ran most like a British sprint or British or Irish sprint, in my opinion. Yes, they go round a bend. We don't have any sprints that go round a bend, Group 1 levels that go round a bend in the UK or Ireland, but just the sheer number of runners, they're all quite familiar with each other. Golden Pal, representing the home team, is actually in the minority. I think Highfield Princess has beat better horses than Golden Pal this year, in my opinion. 5 to 2, the Princess. I think she should be clear favourite, and that will be an official selection in the description, as always. At 5:50 on the Saturday, that's 5:50 UK time, the Filly and Mare Turf. A race that wouldn't look out of place if it was run at Ascot or York this weekend, to be honest. There's that many British and Irish runners. Regular viewers will know how much I love Nashwa, and it did hurt to see her beaten on bad ground on Arc Day last month. I put her up that day. Yeah, she was favourite. She got beat. Holly went for home too early, to be honest, at Longchamp, about 3 furlongs out on bad ground, and she just faded late on. That is unlikely to happen here at Keeneland because the home straight is so short. You're not going to get accused of going too early at Keeneland unless you start going down the back straight, which is highly unlikely. Nashwa's 6 to 4 to win this. This could well be a better field than the one that she faced in the Prix de l'Opera last time at Longchamp, and she's a very similar price, almost identical. 6 to 4 for the Opera, 6 to 4 for this. It's short enough for me to leave her alone at this stage, although I would like her to see her win. I know I've said that about other horses, but I have got, I do really like Nashwa, and I have done all season, to be fair. Coolmore have 4 runners in this Fillies and Mares Turf from 3 different stables. One of those stables, or 2 of those runners, represent America that I know very little about. But it's the outsider of those 4 that intrigues me. They have Tuesday, Above the Curve, and Toy. That's from the European contingent, or the Irish contingent of Coolmore, if you like. I just wonder if this Toy is going to take a massive step forward at some stage, and it could be this weekend. From one of the best miling families I've ever seen, related to the likes of Marvellous, Happily, Glen Eagles, etc. She's running in a 9.5 furlong race here with 4 or possibly even 5 bends. Someone will correct me in the comments. This could be ideal for Toy, in my opinion. She's been given a mid-season break. She finished second in the Irish Oaks in July. That was a below par renewal of that race, but it's still decent enough form, finishing second in a Group 1. And then she's been given a break. She was seen at Naas 20 days ago in a listed event. Won that with some ease. That was over 10 furlongs. Not the best of opposition in behind, but she's had the break. This was clearly not the ultimate goal of her season, and I thought she won really well, with more to come from her. Hopefully that more to come comes this weekend. She's 25 to 1 this Toy. I think that's a really nice each way play, and you could argue that the front 3 in the market are on the way down after a long season this season. Nashwa, I know it sounds a bit harsh, but she has had a long season, and that race in France on bad ground might have took something out of her, the travelling as well. I think Tuesday particularly is a horse on the way down. She's peaked earlier this season and she's regressing, in my opinion. Above the Curve, not a horse that I've managed to get right, but couldn't win in France last time, and she's short enough. I do think 25 to 1 Toy is a decent play, and that is my each way selection, hoping that Wayne Lorden can cause a bit of a surprise in the Fillies and Turf, Fillies and Mares turf, Fillies and Turf. The Breeders' Cup Mile on turf is at 7:10 p.m. again at UK time. Yet another race could be easily be ran at Newmarket this weekend. Modern Games is the absolute bet of the weekend, 9-4 to win this. I mentioned him earlier. He won the juvenile turf last year. This is the perfect race for him. Won the French Guineas this year. Won a Canadian Group 1 on a turning track this year. A good second to Baid at Goodwood. Ran an absolute stonker. Brilliant race. Brilliant effort on Champions Day to finish second in the QE2 on ground that surely was too soft for him. I was actually surprised that he ran at Ascot. I predicted he wouldn't run from an anti-post perspective. He did. He ran second. I thought he'd have just come straight here rather than run at Ascot on soft ground. It wasn't very soft, but it was too soft for Modern Games' liking, in my opinion. That is for sure. And he ran a cracker. This looks the perfect race for him. Hopefully Ascot didn't take too much out of him. It was only 2.5 weeks ago. 9-4, Modern Games. This is the race for him. Come on, the boys in blue. Kim Ross is second favourite at 4-1, and what a season he's had. I've never ever backed him. He's been brilliant in the last 2 or 3 months. He's won 2 Group 1s in 13 days in October, and he'd never won a Group 1 before that, despite trying. I do think that this is probably one step too far for me, both in terms of the trip. This is over a mile, a turning mile, yes, but it is over a mile. He's won his last Group 1s have come over 7 and 6 furlongs, respectively. And I think it has been a pretty long season for him. So I'd be happy to take on Kim Ross, but I do fear him, as I have done before. Modern Games, Napa the meeting, 9-4. The final grass event is the Breeders' Cup Turf, over a mile and a half. It's at 8:40 p.m. A race Charlie Appleby has won before with Yabia, and he's got the top 2 in the market here. Nation's Pride is 11-4. Rebels Romance is 7-2. Rebels Romance, a 4-year-old now. 2 most recent runs have come in Germany, so he's easy to take on for people like me that think the German form isn't up to much, and you kind of just brush by it or forget about it. At my peril, it could well come back to cost me that, but I'm happy to kind of take him on and don't think the German form's up to much. Meanwhile, Nation's Pride, 3-year-old, was the Godolphin first choice in the Epsom Derby, but could only finish 8th. He's since been to the North American Grade 1s on his last 3 starts. He's won his most recent 2 of those. Clearly prepped for this race for some time, and he's got to be the one to beat. There's too many American horses in here that I don't know anything about, so it's a no-bet race, but don't be surprised if the boys in blue are able to take this one home again, probably with Nation's Pride. Can I bring myself to back him at 11-4? I really don't know. It's just a question of how good the Americans are. They've got Warlike Goddess in there, and a couple that that's the only one the Americans have got at a single figure price. Really, there's some quite familiar names in there. Mischief, I think he's gone at the game. Stone Age and Broom. Similar comments could apply there, unfortunately. And then the rest of them are American runners, and I don't know how good they are. If I've won a few quid between now and 8:35 on Saturday night, I might well end up back in Nation's Pride, and I could probably see him going off shorter than 11-4, but he's not an official selection. One I do need to give mention to for the main event of the whole meeting, if you like, is the Breeders' Cup Classic. 10 furlongs on dirt. We're officially the best horse in the world by some distance, and that even takes into account Baid, who unfortunately didn't complete the fairy tale at Ascot on Champions Day, but was excellent before that. Flightline has blown him out the water on figures, to be honest, which is amazing to say. Flightline 2-5 to win this. If, like me, you don't follow American racing, just go onto YouTube and watch Flightline's last race at Del Mar. A Group 1, or Grade 1 as they call them in America, a genuine Grade 1 with some genuinely good opposition, according to reports. He won the race, Flightline, won a Grade 1 at Del Mar by 19.5 lengths. It was barely believable to watch with your eyes to think that this is a Grade 1 race, but I am reliably informed by the likes of Nick Luck, who told us, not me personally, he told us it was a proper race and he was beating proper horses by 19.5 lengths. It was incredible. He achieved an RPR of 140 for that, which is pretty, I think it's the highest rating ever given to an American horse, and only topped on RPRs by Frankel, I believe. That might need checking, but an RPR of 140 is stunning, absolutely stunning. He's 2-5 to win this. The whole week will build up to Flightline. The Americans will be going absolutely nuts for him, and like I say, he's 2-4 to get the job done. It could well be spectacular if he is in the same kind of mood as he was last time. I mean, just look at his form. I can't really comment on the quality or the depth or even the name of these racers, right? But Flightline's form in most recent order, won by 19.5 lengths. Before that, won by 6 lengths. Before that, won by 11.5 lengths. Before that, won by 13 lengths. And before that, won by 13.5 lengths. He is an absolute superstar and should well be winning this. And like I say, it could well be spectacular. So tune in to watch Flightline at 9:40, even if you don't have a bet. But before we wrap up, I'm going to give a shout out to friend of the channel, Berkey, who has flagged to me this week a horse called Tiaba, number 1, Tiaba, trained by Bob Baffert, who's pretty famous trainer over in America. A 12-1 shot. Berkey fancies this one each way. I can't really give you the argument. He won last time by 3 lengths in a Grade 1. I don't know how good that Grade 1 was. But Berkey's putting up Tiaba each way, 12-1. I'm not one to argue with Berkey. He's usually red hot on international meetings generally. He did really well on Arc Day. He's done well on Maidan World Cup night previously, but also loves his American racing. So do keep an eye out for Tiaba in the Breeders' Cup Classics. There's 3 bets officially from me. I'll put them in the description as always. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the Breeders' Cup.